Welcome back to the High Vibe Life podcast with me, Moira Casaba, and we are in for a treat today. You are in for a treat today. I have the one and only Alli Aruda in the house. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we're going to do something really fun. Now, literally in the first 30 seconds of us connecting on this, I already know you're totally my people. And we're going to do a little podcast swap, meaning we're going to share this on both of our podcast platforms, which is really fun and exciting. So thanks for that great idea.
My pleasure.
Oh, so fun. So you guys, if you know me, obviously my listeners know that I'm very much in the moment. You know, I prepare for things, but I also just let God, source energy, whatever you want to call it, kind of take the lead. Wherever the conversation goes, it goes. So we're actually going to bat some things back and forth with zero preparation. So let's go ahead and just start there. And we're just winging it. We're winging it for you guys. We are here to serve you guys at the highest level. So Alli, before or as we get in, I should say, tell the people who you are and what do you do in the world?
I love it. So first of all, I love it. You are so high vibe and that we both came in with the exact same energy. They were like, yeah, we're just going to make this work because we have busy lives and busy schedules and we're both excited to have each other on our shows. So why not just do this with one shot together and we're going to throw ourselves to the wind together side by side. And I couldn't love it more. So for those of you that are listening, especially to Moira's show and from Moira's community, I am a Canadian girl based in Ontario, and I'm a luxury gym owner. I own a beautiful boutique brick-and-mortar space with my husband, Matt, and I also am very active in the online space with coaching and building and running communities, guest coaching and masterminds, as well as serving my own one-on-one clients and in-person events here in Canada and a little bit in the US. I love to do a lot of things.
Yes, multifaceted, multi-amazingness. I love that so much. And well, I'll just jump in right behind you for your community. So again, it's always hard to answer that question, isn't it? Because we do so many things. And so when people like that really don't know me ask me what I do, I'm like kind of stammering. I'm like, where do I begin? How do I put this in a box? But I too am very, present on the online space, and I have a big Instagram following, TikTok following. But it all started really with this step about 12 years ago into the online space with coaching online and then mentoring coaches online, launching my own mastermind, launching a podcast, launching a couple books to go along with that. So very, very similar. And ironically, I actually owned a Pilates studio for the first half of my career. Yeah, you might not have known that. Not everybody does. So I owned a Pilates studio for 17 years before switching into the online coaching space. So that's really fun.
Okay, that is so fun. I did not know that. Now, I would love to know because especially being someone who also has probably actively participated in and now also runs your own masterminds, what I find when I go into masterminds, my husband and I are very passionate about investing in that form of personal and business development every year, which I'm sure we can touch on. I always find that the brick and mortar people, we are a smaller percentage compared to, the coaches, the online businesses, the service-based providers that are not location specific. How have you found that transition from, running and experiencing the energy and the community of a brick and mortar space to then not having that and being able to serve more actively online?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, it was the biggest breath of fresh air in the whole entire world, right? So when you own a brick and mortar, you are the business owner. I was very much a solopreneur. So I had this amazing community of teachers and students that gave me a lot of life, and I loved it so much, but I was alone in the business game, and so another piece of that puzzle is I had stepped into direct sales, something I swore I would never do. And so whether you're in direct sales or just the world of online coaching and mastermind, it is what accelerates everything, right? I mean, people so often back in the day would ask me like, gosh, Moira, you had this beautiful six-figure business, multi-six-figure business, but it seems like overnight you built a multi-million-dollar business. And they're like, how did that happen? And the difference is exactly what you're saying, Alli. I stepped into rooms with other business owners that were running similar businesses where I got to mastermind and sit around the table and share best practices, and everybody's pulling back the curtain on like, this is really working for me, this isn't working for me, you should do this, and just giving their expertise away, and then you're doing the same, and it becomes this insanely amazing collaborative space where there's a saying that you can collapse decades into days or decades into months, and that was my experience. It was like, really, I don't even want to say decades, because I would never have been able to build what I've built in my lifetime had I not gotten into spaces and places with other entrepreneurs that were doing the exact same thing I was doing in the world, but they were kind of over there in their corner and I was over here in my corner, and we got to build together. So it's been a total game changer for me.
We always say how it's the shortcut, and we really started investing bigger dollars. And now I'll actually back up, because similar to yourself, I also have experience in direct sales, which is always interesting when you meet people who are like, oh, we vibe and we have like similar paths in the past. And I love seeing so many friends that you and I also share in common that we have like a similar path. And I'm saying that in almost like air quotes because it's similar to an extent. But these years of direct sales, network marketing, I feel like that is entrepreneurship with training wheels. It's such a low investment, low risk, but high resilience. So you learn what it is like to be told no, and to dive into personal development, which then I feel like has really set us up to be excellent entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I know. And I think this, obviously we're not going to go necessarily down the whole like network marketing rabbit hole, but like I wish for the world that there wasn't such a stigma, because it's as simple as thinking of, speaking on stage was like my biggest fear in life. Like I hated, I can remember getting physically ill before I had to go like speak and do something in college in front of my class, like sitting outside the building. I remember the bench. I remember the feeling. And then fast forward, all of a sudden in direct sales, they're like, hey, we'd like for you to speak on stage. And I was like, okay. It was the first speaking engagement, 20,000 people in the Superdome. And I'm like, talk about like fast tracking your, just the kind of the situations you're in and the way that you have to grow so quickly, and the way that you have, I mean, if I wanted to be a keynote speaker, most keynote speakers never in their lifetime will be in front of 20,000 people in the Superdome. No. And there I was like 2 years into network marketing, like figuring out and stepping into that version of myself that could present on stage in the Superdome. And so, yes, it's just this beautiful fast track of entrepreneurship and resiliency and just identity shifting, right? And I'm sure that it was the same for you.
Oh my gosh, same. And I credit it because it really showed me a bigger picture for entrepreneurship. That growing up, I wanted to be an actress. And what's interesting about that is that I think I also really wanted to be famous. And it's so wild. I was having this conversation on a walk just this weekend with my husband about like, what's the why behind that? Like, why would I have wanted to be famous? And I'm still working on that because I didn't answer the question very succinctly when he asked me that. Well, I'll have to get back to you. But it's interesting to kind of look at it from a lens of social media and visibility, which is something that I am so passionate about, and something that I am coaching a lot of other female entrepreneurs on in this current landscape of entrepreneurship and the tools that we have access to, but how visibility is such a big part of our growth as entrepreneurs, whether you are brick and mortar or if you are product, if you are service, it's across the board. Visibility is so key. Is that something that feels in alignment for you and who you serve in your communities?
Absolutely. I mean, we are in this golden age of social media, right? And we don't really know how long that's going to last. I mean, I don't see it going anywhere in the near future. But the fact that you can become known, that you can become visible, that you can become your own personal brand, that you can have such a footprint on the world through social media, working from your own home on something as simple as a mobile device it's a crazy opportunity. And I feel like we're so in it that sometimes we don't realize how opportune it is, right? And I'd love to ask you, when you're coaching these people on visibility, because I do the same, right? And I want to speak to kind of that that segment of the population that's on social media, but they haven't, maybe they're just got a couple thousand followers or even a couple hundred followers. Like, where do you start with people that really have that dream and that vision for more visibility, more brand awareness, that dream to build a personal brand and make impact? Where do you start with people?
I'll start with consistency. And that is something I think that also it ties in so beautifully with my role as, gym owner, personal trainer, fitness girl, as well as the, coaching hat that Alli wears to coach people specifically on visibility. Both, like, whether it's your fitness goals or your visibility goals, both require consistent action. And that is where I start with them. I say, even if you need to just start by posting one story per day, that is the best place to start. And maybe it's a story of, like, you've taken a video or a photo of your morning coffee in your book. And then perhaps that story turns into a face-to-camera story. And then you're just getting more comfortable. And, even if you're thinking of, like, walking into the ocean, that it's your toes and then your foot and then your ankle and a little further along. But I think also it's really important to be showing up authentically and not doing something that you think your audience wants to see, because people are really smart and they're getting so specific with how they consume, but more so engage with the content. So you need to be you and speak to what it is that you do. How do you help someone? How can you change their life and impact their life positively?
So good. So good. I find myself saying over and over again in trainings these days, like, how would you fill in the blank if somebody said, oh my gosh, you've got to go follow Alli Aruda because X. Like, what is the X? Why are they going to come to you to hit the follow button, right? Is it because so often I think we fall into documenting our life, and that can be inspirational and that can be beautiful, right? But so often people aren't gaining that footprint and gaining that following without adding a lot of value, without this thing that, like, she does this. She, does high protein recipes and I make them all the time and they're amazing. Or she does these daily meditations and I do them all the time and they've changed my life. It's like, what is that thing that you are building your personal brand around, right? Because there's multiple pillars that we should have. We want to be showing behind the curtain. We want to be showing our real day in and day out life. But what is that thing that you're standing for, that you're building your brand on, that you're giving value to your audience for? How are you going to fill in the blank? And I think that question really is a wake-up call for people, because they might even be consistent, right? They might be posting every day. They might be in their stories every day, but they can't fill in the blank. And it's really filling in the blank that's so key.
Well, and I think it's also, like, looking at your content always, like, regularly, whether it's every day, every week, and studying it as data. What works. I'm right now in this little flow of posting effectively, like, trends that I see in these trending audios that I'll look at and be like, this feels like it has absolutely nothing that connects to my personal brand or to benchmark fitness. But that I was talking to my best friend about this, and she's like, no, it's visibility though. Like, you're being visible. And for some of these, it's actually just like, it helps me spike my engagement and attract new followers. And it's me dancing around to some sort of, dazzling raspberry or glitter gremlin audio that doesn't feel like how I'm not providing value in this piece of content to my audience, but it's almost like it's attraction-based marketing that I will now sprinkle into the content that I put together.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Let's land on that for a moment, because I think it's so important. And please listen to Alli when she's telling you this, because you guys, yes, I've built an audience and I've been in the online space, but most of my success has been behind the curtain, right? It's what I'm doing one-on-one. It's what I'm doing coaching my business behind the online persona. It's only been this year, so like 10, 12 years into being on social media, that I'm like, I should actually take this seriously. I should start looking at every piece of content like data, like you said, and understanding what it means to actually build on social media. And it was 10 years of being consistent, but it was 10 years of, like, not looking at it from a data perspective, right? And so I just started doing this, and same thing, I'm realizing that there's pieces of content that add value that people are going to save or share or really engage with your niche content, right? What we do. But then there's other days where I'm like, this is just a viral-ish piece that is going to bring me the right audience. So I just had this happen. I had a piece go viral like maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was talking to my assistant and she's like, well, Moira, that didn't do anything for us because there was no call to action. There was no anything. And I'm like, it was a reel specifically talking to women in their 40s in midlife about being like finding themselves and finding their joy again. And it resonated with millions of people. I'm like, if you don't think that didn't bring us like just tons of people that are exactly my target audience that I want to help and I want to serve at the highest level. So again, there's days where we're posting content to gain followers, but maybe not converting them to a sale. And then there's other content that's converting. Can you dig a little deeper on that and what that might look like for you as you kind of map out your social media week?
Well, I love what you're saying too about, because I feel the same in terms of like the attraction marketing, let's call it, like what went viral for you, me dancing around throwing raspberries in my face. We'll call that attraction Instagram. But then I think people are also smart, going back to that moment where if you have every single post that's kind of ManyChat automated, where it's like comment coaching, comment weight loss, then people might actually even, I think, potentially lose interest in your content because it's like, well, all it is it's like giving me this ManyChat funnel of having me want to buy something, or like having them be targeted for an offer or an opt-in or a sale. So I think by having a variety of content that gives people a broader stroke of who Moira is, who Alli is, and getting to
Yes.
know us and what's important. And now I'm looking at certain pieces of content that are like filler content, air quotes, where I'll now do a roundup of like, okay, April in photos. April in photos
Yes.
has nothing really to do with anything that I am selling. However, I take a lot of gym selfies, and that is at the gym that I own. So people will
Yep.
see on repeat Benchmark Fitness on Alli Aruda's Instagram because that's the gym that I own, and that's the gym that I train at 6 days a week, and that I'm actively always selling memberships and personal training for. So I try to have
Yeah.
that naturally feed into my personal brand, even though it's not, talking to camera videos about the 4 membership spots we have left and the personal training promotions that we have.
Yes, I love that so much. It's funny because I just brought fitness content back onto my social for the first time in many years. And so I would love your thoughts around this. So this was kind of my own journey with like my personal brand. I would walk into, like, everyone knows, the people that know me that, pay high ticket mastermind prices, all the people I work with, they're like, you're just like a genius when it comes to mindset and personal growth. And I teach frameworks and processes. And like, that's my passion. That's my fire. That's what lights me up. And what I realized is I'd go into a room of people that didn't know me that well, and they'd be like, oh, well, Moira's the fitness person. And I'm like, I'm not the fitness person. Stop saying I'm the fitness person. Like, I'm not the fitness person. For years, I fought it, right? But health is such a huge part of me. Like, I do work out 6 days a week. It is it's a massive priority. It's my foundation of everything I've ever done in my life. And so I wanted to be this mindset girl. And what I realized is I had to bring back the piece of me that I think people really kind of wanted more of. So one of my good friends, Erin King, who you know,
Love Erin.
she's the best. And one time I kind of was having this like, identity crisis thing with her with exactly what I'm talking about. And she's like, Moira, you know what they say? She's like, you're not who you think you are. You're what other people say you are when you're not in the room. And I was like, what? And I was like, everyone says I'm the fitness girl. So I was like, again, not pivoting from like, okay, I'm not the mindset girl anymore. Now I'm the fitness girl, but bringing that in to be cohesive because it is such a huge part of who I am. And the thing that I was fighting for so many years, now all of a sudden I feel more authentically me than ever. Like, it's crazy, but I wasn't bringing it forward because I'm like, but I'm not selling fitness. So why would I share fitness?
Totally. But I think there is such an amazing relationship between health and mindset. And it
Yeah.
also speaks to discipline. So maybe, yes, you're not selling fitness programs, or you don't have a Pilates studio anymore. You're not an online personal trainer, but the discipline that comes from training 6 days a week and looking at your content, you train pretty dang hard because you got a rockin' bod. That you're also doing exercises and creating fitness related content that speaks to your ideal client in their midlife. So
Yep.
you're having that like bridge almost between the things, an area that's important to you with fitness, and that's how you maybe start your day, or if it's how you break in the middle of your day. But it also kind of builds those discipline focused habits
Mhm.
that is required for deep mindset work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because that's something that I have taught for years because I feel like most people obviously understand exercise even if they're not doing it, but we don't always understand mindset.
Hmm.
And I say the same thing about my mindset work. I'm like, you guys, we understand that like if we don't go to like we can't go to the gym on Monday and like not again the rest of the week and expect results. It's the same thing with mindset. Like it's a muscle that we have to use every single day, even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes of some type of process that you are rewiring your brain, because it is just as easy. It's actually easier to change your brain than it is your muscles, I think.
Hmm.
But we are spending time in the gym trying to change our body, and we're not sitting down on the couch trying to change our brain, right? So yeah, I love that of course, you totally get that connection.
I totally get
Can
it. And
we
I
dive deep?
always, oh, sorry, I was gonna say, I
Go ahead.
always use the example of pull ups. And my husband always laughs at me because I use it like every single time when I can and as an analogy. And it's something that I am working on actively right now, which is, so it's very fresh on my mind. But you can't expect to do like 6 pull-ups with never building the foundation of, a lat pull down, a bent over row, and also trying to do a pull-up, at the first week of March and then not until the third week of May. Like you're not that's not going to work.
Right, right, right. I love that so much. And it's so true. It's so true. Except, I mean, on the flip side, we expect these like leaps and bounds in our business or our
Mhm.
identity, or like, gosh, I sat down and I did my vision board and now it's May 11th and like it's not happening. And I'm
Yes.
like, well, what did you do from January 2nd to May 11th every day for that vision, for your mind, for your mindset? Um, Going back to social media though, because I
Yes.
love, now that I'm finally figuring this out for myself, will you go back and dig into a little bit of how you look at the data and what you are looking at, right? Because we're so trained just to look at likes.
Mhm.
We're so trained to, I mean, Instagram literally shows us our views. I'm like, why don't they highlight, like, you should be able to toggle over and look at different metrics. Obviously, you can in your insights, but front and center on your feed, they're going to show you views and likes.
Mhm.
What data points do you actually look at to see if content is performing well for you?
I will look at saves and shares. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that's interesting that I can even point out, that's something that I've seen with our benchmark Instagram, which is a much different, like we're a location based brick and mortar, but we will do some things that again are kind of like quote unquote attraction marketing on Instagram, that our videographer, that we hire a videographer on retainer for our content. And he had brought us the idea of creating a friends inspired video that shows like the whole benchmark team and highlights some members. He bought the rights to the Friends theme song. That video will get like hundreds of shares, and that will bring in
Wow.
new members. So now that's something we kind of plan to film every quarter. And so I think being able to
Yeah.
see what works, I've done carousels that are, this gym is for you if, this gym is not for you if, that's speaking on the negative
Mm.
side, trying to see and understand, like for our brick and mortar, what works. For my personal brand, I will also look at the content that brings me non-followers. So looking at the
Mm-hmm.
insights, looking at the views. And again, it's those things that are like glitter gremlins and dazzling raspberries and sunshine donuts, whatever these audios I find. That's what brings me a lot of non-followers. So it
Yeah.
increases my follower count, which is still, I think, very much a vanity metric. But I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you, Moira, but I still like it. I still like seeing when
Yeah.
my
Oh, yes.
my number increases of my followers and my views number increases. But it's more
Yes.
so the saves and the shares and how you're attracting those non-followers to then continue building your audience.
Yes. So, 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 so good. I love that. And I think, again, just sharing my own experience, I've sat down 1,000 times in the last 10 or 11 years and been like, okay, I'm going to figure out this social media thing. And what I mean by that is kind of planning out what I'm going to do, like
Mhm.
coming up with a plan, right? And I think a lot of us that are new on social media or trying to build on social media are coming up with the plan. But I think what I've done this last year is yes, you obviously have to come up with a content plan. Like, this is the type of content, this is what I'm trying to get, all of that. But most people stop there. And what you're saying is it's the back end of that. It's like the plan's never going to work. You're just throwing the plan out there to see maybe the 10% that actually gets traction, doubling down on that 10%, and then refiguring out the rest of it that's not getting traction. So it's this data-driven tweaking of what your plan is versus like, this is what I do on social media. And it's like, I did that for 10 years. Like I just kept sharing on social media without changing it from the back end. And it's the back end that changes the game for people.
I will also go in and look at, talking about these insights and the metrics. I'll also look at the type of content that brought in those non-followers. So effectively, what brought in new eyes? And then if that's also content that I can recreate. So if it was a carousel that maybe gave 5 tips to increase your visibility, okay, well, I've shared that content via a Instagram carousel. Now, can I take that content and use it as a talking to camera video? Could it be a B-roll text on screen? And finding that content that works, that has brought in new eyeballs, perhaps it's also converted to, a new coaching client or a mastermind client, and then know like, okay, great, it works. People want this. So let me make more of this, but let me also be efficient with my time and creativity. Just take the content and recreate it. And that is something that I have taught. And I get this feeling for you too. Like, I'm no gatekeeping. Like, if it worked for me, I want it to work for you, and I am happy to share.
Yes. And I think, I love that. That is like one of the most life-giving, like heavy sigh of relief things that you can say, because I know when I started to get serious about social this year and like actually tackle it, it was a massive lift in the beginning. Like I was thinking about like hooks every single day and, is it a carousel? Is it a B-roll? Is it what kind of content is it? And then what's the caption? Is there a call to action? Is there not a call to action? If there's a call to action, what's the freemium on the back end? What's the ManyChat? Like you got to think about 10 things with every piece of content. And what I finally realized as we started to find a piece that hit and another piece that hit and another piece that hit, it was like, wait a second. This is kind of a game that you're really looking for. I mean, we could argue maybe even 10 or maybe it's 50, right? But 10 to 50 pieces of content that hit, and then all you're doing is recreating and recreating and recreating and recreating. And I'm like, oh, so I'm not going to have to do what felt like that massive heavy lift forever. But it is necessary in the beginning to find the pieces of content that do well that then you can repurpose.
Oh, totally. And I am all for repurposing content. That last year at the mastermind that Matt and I were in last year and again this year, but Brock Johnson was one of the keynote guest speakers. And I think I actually asked him the question and point blank raised my hand. I was like, can I reuse content? And I got a resounding yes from him. So I'm like, okay, if Brock Johnson told me yes, I'm going to take that and run with it. So I will go through my feed every couple weeks and see, and I don't know about you, but I also love watching back some of my content and be like, oh my God, that was so well made. So well curated.
Yes.
And I will reuse it because maybe your raving fans will remember it and be like, oh my gosh, I love this workout series that Moira posted. Love that she's posting it again. You'll have those people. Yep. Sure, maybe you'll have some people that will say like, oh my gosh, she already posted this. Like, eye roll. Whatever. Who cares about them? Trolls. But then you'll have people that have newly found you. So they're seeing this content for the very first time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can remember hearing from Brock recently that every single piece of good content, and we're not even talking about repurposing, should be reshared 3 times, right? Like if you haven't shared it in a month, reshare it. And I mean, talk about like the weight of the world where you're like, oh, I can just copy paste and repost. And that was such an easy lift for the day. I love that so much. So talk to me about this too, Alli. When you come into working with somebody that's kind of at this place where they found some content pillars that work and they're starting to get traction. You mentioned ManyChat. Even for me, when ManyChat first came about, it's like any new piece of tech. It's like, I have to learn something all new. It's like, you just feel like it's going to be the hardest thing in the world. And then you're like, you finally do it. And you're like, oh, that was a walk in the park. But where do you see them or where do you direct them to next? Like, let's start building out, free lead magnets or ManyChat flows. What does that look like? Do you push them to like collect emails? Tell me about that.
Well, do you want to hear a cute, very endearing little story about ManyChat?
Yes, please.
So before I signed on and got a ManyChat subscription, I was seeing people do this like on Instagram, like comment,
Yes.
fit, or whatever the word may be. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to follow this trend. I'm going to use it. So I would do that to sell. I think at the time I was doing it to focus on some event tickets. So I would pick the
Yeah.
word and I would reply manually. But I'd be like, hey, Moira, da, da, da. Like I was just following the trend, not knowing there was
Right.
literally a company called ManyChat that does it for you.
Yeah, that's hilarious. And I've done the same. And I actually advise people of that at first, right? Like if you don't have a huge social media engaged following and you're like, I think I need to learn ManyChat because, so many entrepreneurs, it's the start that stops them. They're not doing it. What's stopping them is like they're thinking they're not successful because they don't have ManyChat. I'm like, listen, you're probably going to have like 6 people drop the word. You don't need ManyChat. Like you can manually respond, So
Totally.
there's that side of it too. Yeah, but go ahead. I love this story.
And I sometimes still actually like that. I used to have it. So what I really use it for now is actually just thanking people for the new follow. Like, thanks so much for following. And I will ask them a question like, are you here for the content or are you here to grow your business? And
Yeah.
the percentage that replies to that is probably 50% or less. So sometimes that actually allows for me to open the conversation to be like, okay, great. You're here to grow your business. Wonderful. What do you do? Where are you based? And some of those conversations will then convert to one-on-one coaching. For the most part,
I love that.
it's just like a courtesy connection. I previously
Right.
had one set up for like anytime someone would tag me in content, but that one got excessive. And when I recently was in Australia, I surprised my best friend on the other side of the world for her birthday.
Oh, fun.
And it was so fun. But she was tagging me in so much content. She's like, your ManyChat automation is the most annoying thing. So I turned it off.
Right. I have run into that too, because obviously ManyChat, you drop a word, it triggers the response. And so I'm in so many conversations all day long in my DMs that I'm constantly going in and seeing like all these ManyChat responses are dropped in the middle of the conversation. And I'm like, like quietly deleting them and then responding, So yes, it can get a little excessive. I agree.
I like it.
Going back to email.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna
going
say
to say, yeah. Go for it, Alli. Go for it.
I was just going to say on ManyChat, like I think it is a great tool that entrepreneurs can have. I also agree with you that I think for someone that's just starting out, I mean, it's not a big investment every month, but if you are paying for, podcasting or social media support, like it's just another expense that I think it's totally something that people can do manually. And then you can make it even better because maybe one person gets a written message from you, maybe one person gets a voice memo. And I think that is such a great engagement tool. And I would, for people listening to both of our shows, like not to overlook the ability to voice connect with someone in the DMs on Instagram, I think can be so needle moving and so powerful.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. I had a ton of content go viral about peptides and ManyChat, like thousands of ManyChats going out with information and 0 conversion, like 0.
Interesting.
And I was like, this is going to be the heaviest lift ever. Obviously, I changed the ManyChat because if it's not working, we need to improve upon it. But what I did is I went into all of those responses. And there were days where I would voice memo, 20, 30, 40 people because I so want to connect with them. I want them to know I'm a real person and I want to know what they're struggling with so I can help them. But it still is. I still do that. I mean, people think like, oh, you're so successful. You make millions of dollars. I'm like, yeah, but my love language is connection. Like I want to impact people's lives. I want to change people's lives. I want to have real conversations with real people. So yeah, the ManyChat set up, but I am following that up with voice messages all day long. So I can't agree with you more.
Really powerful note just to stay on here for discussion, Moira, because going back to like the visibility piece of showing yourself regularly, but also showing yourself in stories so people know that you're a real person because we have so many incredible tools at our fingertips with AI, let alone something like ManyChat automation, but having AI support us in so many areas of our business. But focusing on what you just said with the voice memos, that it's connection. And I've said this to a lot of my clients as well, that social media, we're going back to the basics where it's social, like engage with each other on each other's posts and stories and in the DMs. And I love what you said. And I would love for you to even to elaborate to see like, have
Yeah.
some of those voice memos even been a positive conversion opportunity for you,
Oh, yeah.
whether it be peptides or your masterminds, people working with you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anytime you're trying to sell a product online, whether it be a mastermind or a product, you have to know that like it's a numbers game. I hate to say that, but like, people are like, "Oh, I sent 10 voice memos yesterday and nothing happened." And I'm like, "Well, I sent 120 this week and like one person responded." Like I've always seen it too as, and it's just my mindset around connection and cold market. It's like, it's going to take time. I'm not going anywhere. I know what my heart is for people, and I know that I'm so just service driven. And so they're going to need that ManyChat and then the voice message. And then I'm engaging on their content because I'm following them. I want to know about them. And then maybe I'm sending another message. So it takes time, right? But you have to keep putting in a lot of effort. But 100%, I mean, the first week I started doing voice messages, several people converted without sending me a voice message back, right? Like they
Wow.
didn't even necessarily need to have the conversation, but it was enough that they're like, wow, she's a real person. She actually cares. She really wanted to connect with me. And they're just going right in and purchasing like that. So I think it's a huge, huge trust builder. And that's the thing. And I'm sure you agree with this. Like so many people online are like throwing up a link and expecting to be a massive seller or convert really high. I'm like, hey, I've got over 100,000 followers and I'm very successful in business, and throwing up a link doesn't convert that well for me. Like it might every once in a while, but that's not where the conversion happens. It comes from building relationship for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I've heard people have this conversation even just in our mastermind communities about when you look at people that like your photo or your reel, like your piece of content, let alone comment or tag a friend in it. And this kind of goes back to even the conversation surrounding data, like what we look
Mm-hmm.
at on our posts. We can almost consider those people as like warm leads or, quote unquote, opting in to your content to open the conversation. That if someone has
Yes.
commented on your peptides content, well, they're probably curious, or maybe they either already take it or they're thinking about it. But now you have that warm lead opportunity to have that conversation to see, like, all right, how can I support you? Or what are you doing? What are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a game changer. I mean, we all know this somewhat general statistic of like it takes between like 7 and 15 times to
Mhm.
like touch on somebody that's a cold market lead for them to ever convert. And I just think so many times people are thinking that's going to happen like the first or second time somebody engages with their content, and it's like, it goes back to the old adage of like planting seeds. And that always resonated with me. I'm like, I just need to wake up and like plant as many seeds as I can, which is touch points with people, which is connection for me, which sometimes people feel like that's kind of the part they don't like. And I'm like, you just got to reframe that, because you're building a relationship and an opportunity to change someone's life, whether it be from a mastermind that you're offering, a coaching program, a product. Like that to me is such a beautiful part of my day. And so, if I plant enough seeds and I just keep planting seeds every single day and I keep nurturing them and I keep watering those seeds, like they will grow at some point. So I'm not looking at that return on the investment of my time and my input like that day.
Mhm.
I just trust the process, and I've been in it long enough to know that it will always work if I just keep really coming from a place of service too. Like it is, we hear this and we can read this in books, but I feel like it's like a heart posture. It's like a shift that I don't know how to necessarily tell people to make it, but I show up every day. Like I don't need to work if I don't want to work. Like I literally show up because I want to change their lives. Like I want to help them. So sure, it comes back to me, financially, but like that's not even on my radar when I'm thinking about this, right? Like I am truly putting their needs and their life at the forefront of this and my desire to change their life before I'm thinking about anything for me. And I think that shift is everything.
Absolutely. Okay, I love what you're talking about with, the mindset that you have effectively with planting seeds, watering the seeds, and it's playing the long game. Having a
Hmm.
podcast. This is the long game. We're not going to
Yeah,
start a podcast, have 6 episodes and then make 100K a year on sponsorship. It's the
right.
long game. So, taking that kind of notion, what do you do, or maybe what would you have as advice for people that are feeling frustrated with maybe not being prepared to play the long game? As mindset coach Moira, what would you tell them? What are pieces of advice that people could
Yeah.
remember?
Gosh, such a great question, Allie. And I think it's like so many answers wrapped up in one. But if we talk about like both ends of the spectrum, first of all, if you don't have that much time to play the long game, that's actually a gift, right? Like it's kind of goes back to like our network marketing days when like we were pushing for the end of the month or a goal or some type of rank. And it's like, Brendan Burchard says pressure is a privilege. Like
Mm,
there's so many things that I never would have accomplished had it not had a timestamp on it. Like you've got 6 weeks to make this happen, or you got to hit this goal by the end of the month. Well, if you hadn't given me that deadline, it might have taken me a year or 2 years, or maybe I never would have hit that goal. But all of a sudden there's a deadline and it's like game on, right? So the conversations change, your actions changes, how you're investing your time into that goal changes, like everything changes, your energy around it changes. And so if you don't have the long game to play, that is such a gift because you're going to make it happen. You're either going to make it happen or you're not going to make it happen. But for me, I always make it happen. Like I love collapsing time. And that's why I think it's so important even for me because, I don't need to have these timestamp goals anymore, but I do.
mm,
Because if I don't say I'm going to do this by this date for myself, then I'm just not that motivated. Like I'm not that engaged towards the goal. So I love to give myself, even if I have time, a shorter road to hit that goal because you're just that much more motivated. If you said, we're going to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 weeks, or we're going to lose 20 pounds in the next 20 years, like
yes.
which one's exciting? Which one's motivating? You're not going to be excited if your goal is to lose 20 pounds in 20 years. So that is a gift. The other thing though, that I think is really everything, and I have a morning process that I teach through this and I do every single day of my life. And it really came about 10 to 12 years ago when I felt this, when I felt the frustration of every day it felt like I was losing. Every day it felt like nobody was saying yes. Every day it felt like no one was returning my messages. Every day it felt like no one was engaging on my social media. And you're working so hard. But what I realized is, you know this, I'm sure, that our brains filter out and look for scarcity, danger, threats, where we're not winning, right? So our brains are literally only filtering in the things that are like, oh, it's not working. They're not responding. Your social media is falling flat. You are not good at this. You're going to fail. You're not making enough money. And all the comparison game, right? So I was literally like, I can't do this.
Mm,
Like, this is not working for me. This is not fun. I don't enjoy this. And I feel like I'm losing every single day. But I also understood the power of the brain and my mind, and that if I focused on the right things, I would feel more of them, I would see more of them, and then I would attract more of them. So I started simply asking myself every day, how am I winning?
I love that.
Instead of by default seeing how I was losing, because that's what we do as a society. It's what we do as human beings. We can list 20 things about that we don't like about our life. But if I said, what are the 5 things that are just rocking in your life right now? Like, where are you winning? We kind of stammer and we're like, we don't even know what to say. So I look every single day, pen to paper, what the hand does, the mind remembers. I write it down. So I write down 5 ways I'm winning every single day. It could literally be the teeniest, tiniest conversation or win or whatever it is. And you start to stack that, right? Think about that. That's 35 things a week. You've written 140 ways that you're winning a month. You've written over 1,000 things that you're winning in the year. Think about what that starts to build in you. It starts to build belief. It starts to build identity. It starts to build, I'm actually crushing it. I'm actually doing good. Life is working in my favor, right? The universe has my back. And you start to shift. And when you shift your energy and you shift your belief, every single thing in your life changes. And so we have to train the brain to look for the ways that we're winning every single day. Most importantly, on the days that we feel like we're losing, right?
Oh my gosh, this is so powerful. I have like
Yeah.
follow-up questions, but I need to know.
Okay, you guys, I don't mean to leave you hanging, but we are going to bring you part 2 of this incredible episode next week. So be sure to come back and tune in, because this conversation takes a total turn in the best of ways. And we dig deep into, gosh, Alli's rock bottom moment, my rock bottom moment, the things that really changed us from the inside out, and how we use those experiences to build the businesses that we've built today. So join us next week for part 2.